A thunderous roar split the morning air over Dnipro, the industrial heart of Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region. In what local officials described as a ballistic missile strike carried out by Russian forces, the city was shaken to its core. 4 civilians lost their lives, and dozens more were gravely wounded as buildings shook, glass shattered, and fires erupted across commercial districts. The missile tore through the skies and slammed into the ground without warning. Rescue teams worked frantically amidst the smoke and debris, treating the 40 injured, among them 11 in serious condition, and hauling bodies away. The blast did not discriminate. It struck businesses, office buildings, car service stations, and countless civilian vehicles. Nearly 50 cars were destroyed. For many of Dnipro's residents, the explosion came at a time when hope for diplomacy appeared to flicker. Just hours earlier, the head of state for Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, was in Paris, pressing for international backing in attempts to steer the war toward negotiation. But while his delegation engaged in high-stakes diplomacy, civilians on the ground paid with blood. The strike underscores how tenuous peace efforts remain when bullets and missiles still decide who gets to live. This is not the first time Dnipro has been pulverized by Russian strikes. Over the past months, this city has repeatedly been hit by missiles and drones, a pattern that has damaged homes, factories, infrastructure, and shattered a sense of security among its people. Inside one car repair shop destroyed by the blast, workers told rescuers they only saw fire, smoke, and dust, that there was no time to think, only to run. Others described the moment as chaos. Fires consumed buildings, windows exploded outward in a shower of deadly shards, and shattered concrete rained down on the streets. Emergency services described the scene as apocalyptic. The strike arrived amid an escalated phase of the conflict, even as Ukraine pushes for additional military and diplomatic support from its Western allies. Russia, for its part, has remained silent, offering no immediate acknowledgement of the attack, no explanation, no apology. The silence only deepens the horror for those mourning the dead and assessing the damage. In the wider context of this war, this strike on Dnipro serves as brutal proof that civilians remain squarely in the crosshairs. Far from the front lines, ordinary shops and city blocks become targets. A missile's indiscriminate power turns workplaces and homes into tombs. For every conversation about ceasefires and diplomacy, there is a stark and tragic human cost. Lives lost, families shattered, towns scarred forever. What happened in Dnipro today is a grim reminder. The war continues to tear through Ukraine in unpredictable bursts of devastation. And until security for the civilian population becomes more than a talking point, every city, every street remains at risk. Dark smoke still swirls over Dnipro as survivors emerge from ruptured buildings, limping, coughing, clutching the ragged remnants of their lives. The city, once bustling with commerce and routine, has become an unwilling stage for war's cruelty. Stories of loss pour in, a mother who rushed her child to safety moments before the blast. Shopkeepers trembling as windows shattered, inventory lost, livelihoods destroyed. A mechanic whose car service station was reduced to twisted metal, flames licking through what remained. Official reports confirm 4 dead, 40 wounded, 11 of them in critical condition, and dozens of cars, businesses, a 4-story office building, and a bank branch destroyed. But the facts alone cannot convey the full weight of what occurred. Among the injured are ordinary citizens, engineers, clerks, drivers, people who were simply going about their day when violence struck. The blast did not choose its victims. It does not distinguish frontline soldier from civilian clerk, marketplace vendor from pensioner. It struck indiscriminately. And that is the deeper, more harrowing reality. The war is not confined to trenches or frontline towns. It lives in grocery aisles, in factories, in quiet side streets. This missile strike did not happen in isolation. The city of Dnipro has endured a nearly continuous barrage of attacks, rockets, missiles, drones that have turned industrial zones, residential blocks, and once functional infrastructure into debris fields. Each new strike chips away at the sense of normalcy, transforming a city into a landscape of fear, uncertainty, grief. And every family touched by death or destruction becomes part of a growing tally, lives lost, hopes shattered, hearts scarred. In the hours after the strike, emergency services moved with brutal urgency. Rescue crews rummaged through rubble, searched for survivors, cleared debris, tended to the wounded, and retrieved the dead. Local authorities declared a day of mourning as sirens wailed and flames still glowed against a gray, smoke-stained sky. Hospitals reached capacity. Hospitals overflowing with the injured. Doctors worked under pressure. Patients, some unconscious, others screaming, awaited treatment. Blood and dust mingled on the floors. Fluorescent lights flickered. At the same time, somewhere far away in Paris, diplomatic discussions continued. Leaders met, pens hovered over proposed peace plans, world powers deliberated aid, alliances tightened, speeches were made. But while governments negotiated, while diplomats tried to chart a path toward ceasefire or compromise, civilians in Dnipro paid the price. Their streets were ceded to missiles. The calculus of geopolitics unfolded over shattered glass and blood-soaked pavement. The stark contrast between diplomatic halls and ruined neighborhoods raises a grim question. Can negotiations ever matter when the bombs still fall? Will maps and treaties ever be strong enough to hold back the next missile launched in the dead of the night? And for the people of Dnipro, those who saw their world collapse in a single instant, these abstract debates offer little comfort. For many, this strike will not only bring grief, but also despair. Despair at a war that remains distant to the world yet brutally close to them. Dnipro's factories and shops may rebuild. Glass and concrete may be replaced. The rubble may be cleared away. But the psychological scars, the trauma of loss, the uncertainty of whether the next warning siren heralds life or death, these will linger. At a moment when the global spotlight is on diplomacy and strategy, Dnipro stands as a reminder of something far more human. War's victims are not strategic positions nor bargaining chips. They are mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, people whose only crime was being alive. As twilight settled over Dnipro, the quiet that usually accompanies the end of the day was replaced by an uneasy, trembling silence, the kind that lingers after something shattering, something irreversible. Throughout the city, the smoke from the strike wound through alleyways and streets, hiding in the dark corners and casting long shadows across ruined storefronts. Families huddled together in makeshift shelters. Neighbors checked on neighbors. Ambulance sirens still echoed in the distance, bringing the wounded to overcrowded hospitals. Reports say that among the injured were children, elderly people, workers, people whose only crime was living in a city under constant threat. Authorities in Kyiv and Dnipro issued formal condemnations, calling the strike outrageous and deliberately indiscriminate, stressing that civilian areas were no place for missiles. The regional governor reiterated that Dnipro, though often targeted, is not a frontline city. It is home to factories, shops, schools. Its people work, study, raise children. The choice to launch a ballistic missile into such a city speaks not of military logic, but of terror. Across Europe, the strike reverberated as more than just another attack. It has become part of mounting pressure on the wider international community. With talks underway, some officials in Western capitals admitted privately that events like Dnipro make it harder to view the war through geopolitical abstractions. The damage here isn't just physical, it's moral, a stark reminder that civilians remain squarely in the crosshairs, and that peace plans may be no shield. Back on the streets of Dnipro, volunteers and ordinary citizens joined rescue efforts. Makeshift teams delivered food, water, blankets. Neighbors opened their doors to displaced families. Some cleaned glass shards from sidewalks. Others helped unload medical supplies from ambulances bound for overwhelmed hospitals. Among the rubble, life found a way to cling on. But even as people attempted to rebuild, physically and emotionally, the threat remained. Every crash in the distance, every flash in the dark sky could mean another missile, another wave of destruction. The strike will likely force Ukraine's allies to face a painful truth. Military aid, stronger air defenses, and unwavering support for civilian protection might no longer be optional, but urgent necessities. As winter looms and Russia's aerial and missile campaign intensifies, the fragility of life in cities like Dnipro becomes painfully clear. Through smoke and grief, though, the resolve of the Ukrainian people pulses quietly but firmly. Every volunteer helping rescue victims, every neighbor offering shelter, every doctor battling depletion and exhaustion, they embody resistance. They refuse to let terror win. If you want more clear, fact-based reporting on events shaping the world, consider subscribing to the channel.